Okay, this lesson is on factoring trinomials with a different form. These types of trinomials have a number in front of the variable, in front of the x squared. And problems like this have more steps. There's different ways people factor these types of trinomials. I learned something called a trial and error method, which is a lot harder. There's the grouping method, the box method some people use. There's something called the asterisk and the snowflake method, which I don't really know what that is. And there's some method called the slide and divide. That's the method I use specifically. I'm also going to use this video to show you the grouping method and the box method. You might like those better. Now, all of these methods will involve multiplying the first number, which is is the A, times the last number, which is the C. Once we multiply those two numbers together, we're going to list out their factors and find a pair that equal the number in the middle, just like in the videos with the easier trinomials. Alright, so the slide and divide method is pretty easy once you get the hang of it. What you're going to do is you're going to slide the number in front of the x squared to the end and multiply it by the c at the end. So you will then have a trinomial with just an x squared in front. We're going to find the factors of the c that add up to be the number in the middle, just like with the easier trinomials. We're doing the same thing, putting those numbers in the parentheses. Then we're going to do the dividing part, which is you divide the numbers in the parentheses by the original number you slid. You simplify the numbers by either reducing the fraction or dividing it into a whole number. And whatever you're left with is your final answer. Alright, so we've got to remember to do the dividing part. Now, once you see this a few times, I think you'll see how easy it is. Alright, we're going to start with this problem on the left. I'm going to take the 3, I'm going to slide it to the back with the 4, and I'm going to multiply them together. So we're going to end up with x squared plus 8x plus 12. Now, I'm going to be drawing my parentheses just like before. I'm going to put an x in both parentheses. I'm going to come over here and list the factors of 12. 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. Now, if that middle number was negative, then I would list them all with negative signs, but we don't have to do it in this case. Now, I want to find the pair that adds up to be 8, and you can see the 2 and the 6 add up to be 8. So I'm going to put the 2 and the 6 in parentheses. Now comes the division part. It's very important that you do this. You divide by the number in front of the x squared. I've got it highlighted in yellow. Here, I'll highlight it in yellow. And you simplify. Notice the first parentheses has a 2/3. I can't simplify 2/3. So what we do is we take the denominator and slide it back in front of the x, because I can't have a fraction whenever I'm factoring this. So we're going to end up with a 3x plus 2 in the first parentheses. Second parentheses, I can simplify the 6 and the 3, and that gives me 2. What you get when you divide is your answer. So this is the factored form of 3x squared plus 8x plus 4. If you want to, you could do the FOIL method and check yourself. It may not be a bad idea to do that just to make sure everything is right. Alright, this second problem, I'm going to take the 2 in front, slide it to the rear with the negative 9 and multiply them together. So we'll get x squared minus 3x minus 18. I'm going to factor it. Now, I'm looking for the factors of negative 18 that add up to be negative 3. Remember, it's a negative 18, so one factor is negative and one factor is positive. Then we got negative 2 and 9, 2 and negative 9. Whoops, let me erase that. Negative 9 and negative 3, 6, positive 3, negative 6. Okay, so the middle number is negative 3. So I find the pair that equals negative 3 right here. And I place those two numbers in the parentheses. Now, it doesn't matter if you put the minus 6 first or plus 3 first. You just need a minus on the 6 and a positive on the 3. Now we come to the part where we divide both numbers by what's in front of the x squared. There was originally a 2, so we divide by 2. I can't simplify the 3 halves, so I have to slide the 2 back in front of the x, and we'll get 2x plus 3. I can simplify the negative 6 over 2, which is negative 3, so we get 2x plus 3 and times x minus 3. That's the factored form. Alright, this one, we're going to take the 4 in front, slide it to the end with the negative 5, multiply those two numbers together, and we'll get this. Now we're going to come up here to the side, and that's a negative 20, so we're going to list all the factors of negative 20. Remember, one's positive and one's negative. Negative 2 and 10, positive 2 and negative 10. Negative 4 and 5, positive 4 and negative 5. Okay, the middle number is a positive 8. These two give me the positive 8, so we're going to factor that and put a minus 2 in one and a 10 in the other. Now we're going to take the original number we slid and divide it into both of these numbers. That's the original number. Okay. We have to reduce the fractions. So before I do anything else, let's reduce the fractions and then we can figure out what the final answer is. 2 over 4 is 1/4. 10 over 4 is 5 halves. Oh, that should be a 1/2 right here. So 2 over 4 is 1/2. Okay, now if you'll notice, I'm left with a denominator on the number, which means we have to slide that number back in front of the x. So we'll get 2x minus 1. The second one, we slide the 2 back in front of the x, and we'll get 2x plus 5. So this is the final answer. Alright, next one. Put the 5 at the end with the negative 6. X squared minus 13x minus 30. I know it's going to factor into x and x. So I'm going to list all the factors of negative 30. So negative 1 and 30. 1 and negative 30. Negative 2 and 15. 2 and negative 15. Now I'm going to stop right there because look, negative 13 is in the middle and these two numbers give me negative 13. So I've already found them, so I don't have to keep listing the numbers. We're just going to put a positive 2 in one and negative 15 in the other. Now we're going to divide by the original number in front of the x squared. And when we divide the first one, I can't simplify it. I can't make it a smaller fraction, so we're going to take the 5 from the bottom and put it in front of the x. This one we can simplify, so we're going to divide by 5, and we're going to get -3. This is the final answer. Oops. Okay, this one, I want to do 2 more. Move this to the end with the -8. So get x squared minus 2x minus 24. Now I've got a -2 in the middle, so I'm going to be looking for factors of -24 that add up to be -2. So -24, we got -1, positive 24, 1, -24, -2, 12, 2, -12, -3, 8. Alright, and then we get -4, 6, and positive 4, -6. So, the two that give me -2 will be the 4 and the -6. So we're going to put a positive 4 in one, -6 in the other. Now we're going to divide by the number we originally slid, and we're going to simplify. Now I can't simplify 4/3 any further, so we're just going to move the 3 in front of the variable. The second one I can divide by 3, so we'll get x minus 2. This is the answer. Alright, last one. Take the 4, slide it to the end with the 9, multiply those two numbers together, so we get x squared minus 15 plus 36. Now, I'm going to list out the factors of 36 and find a pair, hopefully, that give me -15. It is possible that you can't find one, and if you can't find any, then it's prime. But let's just do 36. Now, I got to list them both as positive and both as negative. 2, 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, 6 and 6. Now I go list them all with negative sign. -4 and -9 and -6 and -6. Now I'm looking for 15, -15 in this case. So here's the pair that adds up to be -15, -3 and -12. So we're going to put a -3 in one and a -12 in the other. Now we're going to divide by the original number in front of the x squared. 4 and 4. Alright, I can't simplify 3/4, so we're going to take the 4, put it back in front of the x. The second one, though, I can divide 4 into 12. It gives me 3, so we get x minus 3. And you could multiply them together and find and make sure that it equals. Now, I'm going to do the exact same problems, but doing the grouping method. Now, it's still going to take the number in front of the A and multiply it by the C. We're still going to list all the factors of that number, and we're going to find the two numbers that add up to be the number in the middle. So it's all the same thing. We're multiplying, listing out the factors, and finding the ones that give us what's in the middle. Then we're going to use that special grouping method to factor it. So I hope you've watched that video on the grouping method. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to split this 8x into 2 terms. So instead of having 3 terms, I'm now going to have 4 terms. Now, I don't do anything with the 3x squared. I don't do anything with the 4. But we do have to multiply the 3 and the 4 together. When I multiply those together, I'll get 12. We're going to list out the factors of 12 and find a pair that equals 8. Well, notice these two equal 8. So what I do, I'm going to put each of those numbers in a box. I'll put the 2x in the first one. It doesn't matter what goes where, but I just need the 2 and the 6 in the box. These two in the boxes have to add up to be what's in the middle. Now the grouping method says, put the first 2 in the first parentheses, put a plus sign, and put the last 2 in the second set of parentheses. Now we're going to factor out the GCF. In this case, the GCF is just an x. Factor out the x, and we're left with this. The second parentheses, we can factor out a 2. They're both divisible by 2. So we'll get 3x. Whoops, fix that. We'll get 3x plus 2. Now, in the grouping method, these two have to match, and they do. So the 3x plus 2 is one of my binomials in the answer. The other is the x plus 2. So this is the final answer. All right, the next one, we're going to multiply the 2 and the 9 together, negative 9, and we're going to list out the factors of that number. It's going to be negative 18, and I'm looking for the pair that gives me negative 3. So one's positive, one's negative. Negative 2 and 9, 2 and negative 9, negative 3 and 6, and 3 and negative 6. So I'm looking for negative 3, and I've just found the two factors that add up to be negative 3. So in the box, I'm going to put a 3x and a minus 6x. They have to add up to be 3x, and they do. Now comes the grouping method. 2x squared in this one, and the 3x, and then minus 6x minus 9 in the second one. And again, we can factor out the GCF. In this case is an x, so we get 2x plus 3. This one though, notice the first term is negative. When the first term is negative, your GCF will be negative. Now, both of those numbers are divisible by 3, so it's going to be a negative 3. And when we divide by negative 3, we're left with 2x plus 3. The parentheses must match in the grouping method. So the 2x plus 3 matches, so that's one binomial. The other binomial is the x minus 3. And again, you could do the full method if you wanted to check it. But that's the answer. Alright, here's another one doing the box method. We multiply the 4 and the negative 5 together. It gives me negative 20. And I'm going to list all the factors of negative 20 and hopefully find a pair that equals negative 8. Well, guess what? I mean, not negative 8, positive 8. I just found a pair that equals positive 8. So I'm going to put those in the parentheses. Negative 2x, positive 10x. Now comes the grouping method. First two terms, second two terms. Now, the first one, notice the 2 and the 4 are both divisible by 2, and we can take out an x. So we're going to be left with 2x minus 1. The second parentheses, they're both divisible by 5, so we're going to factor out a 5, and we're going to be left with 2x minus 1. So again, they have to match, and they do. So that is one binomial in the answer. The other binomial is what I've got written in red, the 2x plus 5. This is my final answer. Alright, here's another one with just doing a lot of practice on this. 5 times negative 6 is negative 30. So I'm going to come over here and list out all the factors of negative 30. Negative 1, 30. Positive 1, negative 30. Negative 2 and 15. Oops. And positive 2, negative 15. Now, what am I looking for in the middle? Negative 13. These give me the negative 13. Now, it doesn't matter where you put the numbers in the boxes, but I'm going to put the negative 15 first, and you'll see why in just a second, and put the 2x second. Now, the reason I'm doing that, so when I group it, I will not have a negative at the beginning of the second parentheses. On the other, if there was one problem where I had a negative, well, this way I don't have the negative at the beginning. Now we're going to factor out the GCF. 5 and 15 are both divisible by 5, and we can take out an x. Second parentheses, we can factor out a 2. Whoops, hold on, there should be a plus sign in the middle, right here, plus sign. We're going to factor out a 2 plus 2. Now, when we factor out the 5x, we're going to be left with x minus 3. When we factor out the 2, we're going to be left with x minus 3. So the x minus 3 is one of the binomials in the answer. The other binomial is the 5x plus 2. You know what? I want to save these for you to do. I want you to work them out. Take a picture of your work and send me the picture. I want to make sure that you're doing this right. Now, the box method is similar to the grouping method. It just puts it in a box. Now, we're still doing the same thing. We're multiplying the A and the C together. We're going to list all the factors, find the number in the middle, so everything works the same. It's just how we organize it. In the box, the x squared term goes in the upper left. The last term goes in the lower right. The two numbers you find that equal the one in the middle goes in the other two boxes. Now, just like with the grouping method, we're going to be factoring out GCFs. So once I factor out the GCFs, what's across the top and what's on the left side is the factored answer. Now, I've already got the boxes drawn for you, but we're still doing the same thing. We're multiplying the 3 and the 4, and we're getting 12. Now, I've already done this twice. The factors of 12 that add up to be 8 are 6 and 2. Now, what we're going to do is here, we're going to factor out the GCF, and I'm going to write it on the left side. Well, 6 and the 3 have a 3 in common and an x in common. I'm going to factor this row. The 2 and the 4 have a 2 in common. Now, it's a positive 2, so I'm going to put a plus sign right here. Then we're going to come to the first column, and we're going to factor out what they have in common. The only thing they have in common is the x, with x across the top. Here, the 4 and the 6 are both divisible by 2, and it's a positive 2, so we're going to put a positive 2 across the top. The binomial you get on the left and the binomial you get on the right is the final answer. So this factors into 3x plus 2 and x plus 2. So this is my answer. It's exactly the same as the other two problems. It's just a different way to do it. Now, this one, 2 times negative 19 is negative 18. Now, I've already done this one where we found the factors of negative 18 that give me negative 3. It is negative 6 and positive 3. Now, take the first row and factor out the GCF. they're both divisible by 2, and they have an x in common. Look at the bottom one. Take out the common denominator, our GCF, which is 3. So we put a 3 on the outside, and it's a positive 3. Now, let's factor this column. The only thing they have in common is the x. Factor out the x. Now, you got to be careful with this one. The first term is negative, so my GCF is going to be negative. And the question is, negative what? Well, they're both divisible by 3, so we factor out a 3. What's on the left and what's on the right is the factored form. So this factors into, let me rewrite it, 2x plus 3, x minus 3. So this is the answer I'm looking, and it's exactly the same answer as the other two methods, it's just a different way to do it. Alright, let's do this one. Now, when I multiply the 4 and the negative 5, it gives me negative 20. Now, I've done this earlier with the same problem. The two factors that give me 8 are positive 10 and a negative 2. Now, come over here. We're going to factor out the GCF. Now, they have an x in common, and they're both divisible by 2, so we're going to put 2x on the outside. This one, you got to be careful. There's a minus in front, so my GCF is going to be a minus. But the question is, a minus what? Well, the only thing I can divide into a 2 and a negative 5 is a negative 1. Oh, this one's a little trickier. Got a negative 1 we got to worry about. So if you can't factor anything else out, it's just a 1. Now let's factor this column. They have an x for sure, and they're both divisible by 2. This one, the 10 and negative 5 are both divisible by 5, so we're going to get a plus 5. So the factored form is 2x minus 1. And 2x plus 5. And you could go check this if you wanted to by doing the FOIL method. Alright, let's do the next one. And I've already done the hard part where I've multiplied those two together, which gives me a negative 30, and then I find the factors of negative 30 that adds up to be negative 13. And we've already done this. It's going to be negative 15 and positive 2. So the first row, 5 and 15 are both divisible by 5, and then we're going to take out an x. This row, they're both divisible by 2, so we take out a 2, and it's a positive 2. Now this column, the only thing they have in common is an x, so we can factor out an x. Now this one, you got to be tricky. You got to be careful because it's tricky. There's a minus sign here. So when I factor this, my GCF will be a minus. Now 15 and 6 are both divisible by what, 3s? So my GCF is a 3. So what's across the bottom? What's on the left and what's on the right is the final answer. So this factors into 5x plus 2, x minus 3. And again, you could do the FOIL method if you wanted to check it. Now, I've got 2 more just like the other problems. I want you to do these. Just take a picture and send it to me. I want to make sure that you understand this. Now, you don't have to do it as far as the test goes. I just want to see if you can do them using the box method.